Hey friends, it is Jenna, what is up, and welcome back to the Board Game Garden, and welcome to a preview of this game right here. This is Boundless Stride into the Denlands. It is published by Incredible Dream, who is helping sponsor today's video, so a huge thank you to them. It is designed by Kevin Wilson, which he's actually the designer of Incredible Dream's other game, which is called Kinfire Chronicles. And Boundless Stride is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players. It takes about 45 to 60 minutes, and it plays players 14 plus. And I would say that this is a little bit of like a legacy, story-driven, pick up and deliver, kind of like mission completing or like order completion, if you will, a little bit of resource management, that sort of thing, type of game, and I'm very excited to show you guys all about it. If you're interested in hearing more about Boundless Stride into the Denlands, then just keep on watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy. Also hit the subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Also comment down below if Boundless Stride into the Denlands is something that you're interested in. And yes, we're gonna get right into the aim of the game. I will go into all of the components, which I will touch on right now. Everything you see in front of me right now is a pretty early on prototype, and basically they have given me enough stuff to kind of give me a feel of the game of Boundless Stride into the Denlands, but there's also going to be in the finished product a lot more content to be discovered. There's going to be more mission cards. There's going to be 4 different maps. I've only gotten 1 of the 4 maps here. There's also going to be additional stickers and things. You will be sticking stickers on things. That's why I mentioned that it is a legacy game. There's going to be additional tokens and stuff like that. But yes, without further ado, let's get into this video and see what Boundless Stride into the Denlands is all about, shall we? Alright, so the aim of the game of Boundless Stride into the Denlands, like I mentioned, this is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players, and players will be choosing 4 different characters to play. There are 6 different characters in total. There is Sleek, Monty, Paige, Cohen, Nickett, I believe, as well as Vane, and you are going to be choosing 4 characters to play no matter what player count. So if you decide to play 4 players, each player could choose the character that they want. In a 2-player game, each player could have 2. Different things like that if you're playing a solo game, which there is a solo mode, obviously. It is a cooperative game, so simply you would just be controlling all 4 of the characters yourself in a solo game. And even if you're playing cooperative, you can just decide as a group to kind of just control whatever character you want in that chosen day or in that chosen turn. So you can kind of take turns. You can decide to all work together, moving all 4 of them. Just whatever you feel like is best for your group, that is going to be how you play. So you're going to be choosing 4 different characters. Each of the characters is going to have different movement. They're going to have different like special abilities, stuff like that. And then you are going to be trying to work together to explore the map that you've chosen. Like I said, we only have 1 here today, but there are 4 different maps you can choose from, depending on where you are in the story. And then you'll be working together to explore the map, have different encounters on the map. You're going to be collecting different resources and ultimately trying to complete 4 different missions before different hazards and things called Grems, which are kind of the villains in the game, overtake the Denlands and unfortunately make you lose the game. And as you do complete missions and work through the game, doing so will award you with progress points that will grant you special powers on that specific map in the future. It'll help you place stickers that can change the landscape or even unlock new, more difficult challenges. Overall, for the gameplay of Boundless Stride into the Denlands, it is broken up into rounds, and each round is going to have a day and a night. So the night is comprised of all of the different scouts being able to take 1 turn. They're going to be moving on the map, exploring the map, having different encounters, collecting different resources, possibly completing some missions, and then once all of the scouts, no matter how they play out, you can do it, like I said, individually or as a group. You will then move into the night phase, which the night phase is just comprised of pulling chips, out of a bag or out of a cup, whatever you prefer. And then these chips will have some different hazards, as well as the grims, like I mentioned, will come and take over the board a little bit, and you will have to control that in certain ways. Additionally, with the night phase, the night tokens also include some different encounter tokens and stuff like that, which whenever I say the word encounter, there is going to be an encounter book included in the final game. We did get an encounter kind of write-up, but it is like digital on the computer, so there will be an encounter book. And there's also something called Nicket's Notes, which is just like one simple piece of paper in the prototype, but Nicket's Notes will be included in the encounter book as well, and that's just a space for you to put important information as well as different stickers you will put into Nicket's Notes to kind of keep track of different things that have happened in the story. So yes, you will, encounter different things in the night phase, and then you will go back to the day phase, and this will continue over and over again, day and night, until you either win the game by completing those 4 missions or losing the game by all of the different hazards overtaking the board. So that is pretty much an overview of how the game plays. I do quickly want to go through all of the different components here. Obviously, you have the box, which this is not the complete box. It's going to be a lot better looking than this. This is simply just a prototype, but you do have all of the 6 different characters as well as their different movement tokens or stride tokens. Each character is going to have 4, or there's one character that only has 3 different stride tokens, and those tokens are going to be different colors, which I will get into why they are different colors and different things like that when we get into how to play. But each character is going to have their certain stride tokens. There is going to be a character piece here, which I will mention that these here are just little tokens, but in the final production, the player pieces will be miniatures, which I am super, super excited about. I will include a picture here of the miniatures if I'm able to get one, but the miniatures will be a lot nicer. You also have all of the different resources. So you have green, which is plants. You have red or pink, which is the food. You have yellow, which is minerals, as well as the blue, which is like the rare resource. You also have the main board in front of me here. This is, again, a prototype and one of 4 different maps that you will receive in the finished product. You have a bunch of encounter tokens on here. There are both the red and the blue encounter tokens. There are resource cubes. You have your 4 characters that start on the corners. And then on the map, like I said, there's going to be different colors, which again comes back to the stride tokens, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then there's also 3 different locations on the board. There is the branch den, there is the scout rock, as well as the hatchery. And those will actually kind of connect back to some of these special cards up here. So there's always going to be some special cards for the maps. So this one here actually explains what some of the landmarks do if you go to those landmarks. So you have the branch den and the hatchery that kind of tell you different things that you can do if you go to that location. There is additionally some 3 like question mark spots here, which I will mention that there are some stickers over here that you, I'm assuming, are going to be able to put on this card to kind of evolve the location, which I think is very, very cool. You also have a special card here, which tells you all about some special workers that you're going to encounter that allow you to actually do different things. It'll help you fight off the different hazards, stuff like that. There are 3 different ones that you can encounter during this or on this map. There's going to be special cards for each of the individual maps. This one specifically is the Maze Forest, and then this here just tells you all about the Howler Grems and how they work on this board. So you have the special cards for each of the boards. You also additionally have the missions that you're going to be completing. So you have one face up at the beginning of the game, and then you also have some additional ones. Like I mentioned, you do have to complete 4 missions in order to win, so you have those there, and only one is face up and only one you know of at the beginning of the game, but additionally you will have to complete this one to figure out the next one, or there are some certain things that you can do on the board that will allow you to uncover more missions and allow you to have more than one mission at a time to be working for. So those are the cards up here. Additionally, I have another character over here, which is Vane. We have the Knight tokens, which some of them are not included in the bag. Some of them are. This bag is mine. It does tell you that you can put the Knight tokens into a Knight cup or a Knight bag. I'm not sure if a bag or cup is going to be included in the base game, but it does tell you to just find a bag or find a cup that you want, whatever you prefer, to put those Knight tokens in. You also have Nicket's notes, which I showed you guys before. We have, I believe it's Monty's star chart, which I absolutely love because I personally love anything to do with astrology and stars in the sky and stuff like that. So this is very, very cool. You're going to be like charting the stars throughout the game, which I think is cool. You also have your sticker sheet here, which additionally with the final production, there's going to be a lot more sticker sheets and stuff like that. You have more missions down here, which you will have more missions that go along with this board, but the 4 that I have here are like the starter missions. So if you do use this map again, you can actually choose from different missions and kind of change up the game. And then additionally, you have here, it says, do not open until you have unlocked cutscene 2. So there are some specific things, some hidden information for the cutscenes and stuff like that. So that is everything for the components here in the center. So yes, let's get into how exactly Boundless Stride into the Denlands plays. All right, so like I mentioned in the aim of the game, you are going to be going through a day phase as well as a night phase. So starting off with the first player and then going clockwise around the board. Let's just say we started off with Vane up here in the top. For you, it's right, me left. Corner. Each scout is going to have the opportunity to move. Like I said, whether that be by a specific player or by all players. Basically what is going to happen is you're going to start in the top corner and you're going to be using your stride tokens in order to move around the map. I feel like this is a very interesting and unique way to move around a map. And kind of gives you a little bit of structure where to move, but also gives you a lot of freedom in where you can move and what you can encounter and stuff like that. So we have Vane here, which, like I mentioned, each of the individual characters is going to have their specific stride tokens. Vane here has 4 different tokens. 2 of them are white, and then 1 of them is green, and 1 of them is half purple and half blue. They also have a personal little special ability here. It says, on his turn, Vane may spend a resource to place his next track token as if it was a shortcut, which I will get into what shortcuts are and stuff like that. And then additionally, Vane has 2 spots here for resources. So each of the characters is going to have a certain amount of spots for resources, and they're only going to be able to hold that many resources. But as for the stride tokens, I have Vane's 4 stride tokens here, and like I said, they are going to allow Vane to move. So for the movement and the stride tokens and how they work, basically you're going to have your character's piece, and you are going to have to place their stride tokens by first touching one of the stride tokens to the player's piece, and then moving from there or branching off of that piece. So you have to create a continuous path, and the color of the stride tokens has to match the terrain that it is going over on the map. So in order for me to move from here, I either have to play a green to match the green spot, or I could additionally or also play a white, which is a wild that can be placed anywhere. And this you can decide to go in any direction. Maybe I will decide to go straight off of here to eventually get to this encounter token, like so. That would mean that I would actually flip over this encounter token and encounter this encounter token, which this is a helper, which I will get to in a sec. But each of the different encounter tokens, we'll get into what all of them are and what they do. But lastly, they, or you, the player would place the last of the stride tokens. You can additionally decide to not place any of the stride tokens, or you can decide to keep some of them or not use some of them. But once you have finished and decided you are finished making the path of your character, you would then move the character's piece from the start of that path all the way to the end of that path, and then you would place it down. Additionally, if you ever touched any of the resource tokens, which we just did, you would collect that resource token. So in this instance, we collected a food, and then that would be placed into Vane's backpack, and you would take the encounter token as well. So that's pretty much the basis of movement. I will additionally say that each of the characters, or some of the characters, do have some special abilities, some special things that they can do. I believe Monty has some sort of leap ability that allows you to leap to a spot. We also have Cohen, which he actually has this very cool like straight line piece here, and this allows Cohen to kind of move very far in one straight direction. It does have to, though, be layered over purple, because as you can see, this piece is purple, so it must be layered over a purple spot on the map. There's also a few other special movement abilities that some of the characters get, but for the most part, you are placing down those stride tokens, moving your character from the start of those stride tokens to the end, and then whatever you touch within that path you would encounter or pick up or anything like that. I will also mention that if you ever touch a hazard with your character's piece, unfortunately, the game would immediately end and you would lose that game, or if a hazard token was to ever touch a character. So you are trying to avoid all hazards at all costs, because that would make you unfortunately lose the game. So yes, once that is finished, you would pick up all of the stride tokens, you would place them back on your character's board, and then it would move on to the next player. You would go throughout all of the scouts, moving, encountering, and then you would get to the night phase. But before we get into the night phase, I do quickly want to go over all of the different encounters and different things that you can come in contact with on the map. So like I said, you can go to some of the different landmarks, and there is that special card that tells you what you can do at each of the landmarks, and most of the time it is if you end your turn touching a specific landmark, you will be able to do its certain things. So for instance, you have the branch den right here, and it says end your turn here and spend 1 resource to draw a new goal and place it in play. So this is, you know, allowing you to have more missions face up so that you can actually have more to go for and more to work on throughout the game. And then also you have the hatchery. So if you end your turn touching the hatchery, here, you would be able to refill 1 empty resource spot that isn't touching a scout. So you'd go there to be able to, you know, refill some of these resource spots, because resources are very, very important in the game. They are the thing that is going to allow you to use these different helpers, as well as there is going to be missions that do require different resources in order to complete them. So yes, you have those. You also additionally have the different encounters, like I mentioned. You have both blue and red, and some of them are going to have, when you flip them over, a number on the back. That means that you would go into the encounter book and you would read that encounter. Some of them are going to have a specific resource on them, and then one of the helpers, which I mentioned. There is a special card here that tells you what each of the helpers are going to help you with. For this instance here, we have a little firefighter bunny, and this is when you meet a spark spotter. So this is a spark spotter. Pay its cost to shrink obstacle A by 1 token, or double its cost for 3 tokens. So you would be able to kind of manage the hazards. So there's going to be 2 spots here that have hazards that are going to build up in the night phase. So you have the A and the B hazards, and this would allow you to shrink the A hazards by 1 if you spent 1 mineral, but if you spent 2 minerals, you would be able to shrink it by 3 tokens. So it kind of helps you out, those helpers there. Additionally, you have some resource spawning spots. So this one here is a wild resource, so you would be able to spawn whatever resource you wanted here. Additionally, there are some other ones that have a specific color. So this one here, you would be able to spawn the pink on there, which is food. And then I believe the only other thing that we have on here is the shortcuts. So whenever you find these shortcut encounters, you would be able to use these. I believe you can hold on to them and use them at any point, but shortcuts will allow you to kind of take a shortcut from one spot on the map to another spot. So if you needed to get to one spot to another very quickly, you could use this shortcut and kind of help you get to a spot that would normally take you a few turns to get to in one fell swoop. So that is the shortcut tokens, and those are pretty much all of the different encounters. There's going to be different like reading book encounters, you have the helpers, you have the resource spawners, as well as the shortcuts. I will say though that there are things called mission override encounters, which basically if you have a mission card face up that requires some sort of encounter to happen. So this one here is collect bears. So there are two different bear encounters that you would have to find, and this would be 138 and 148. You would have to try to find these on the board, and if you ever found these two bears but the numbers were different, you would then just, instead of reading the number on the token, you would actually read the number on the mission. So it will specifically kind of gear it towards whatever mission you are doing. Now, speaking of the missions, I will just quickly mention the different types of missions that you will have. There are a lot of different missions where you have to kind of trade in different resources. So in this instance, you have 2 blue resources. You will notice that there are no blue resources on the board, so you will have to try to have different encounters and go into the encounter book to try to figure out how to find these specific rare resources. Additionally, like I mentioned before, you will also have to have encounters with specific tokens on the board. This one here requires 1 green, 1 pink, and 1 yellow, and then you have to drop them off at the branch den. And then this one here is 2 green and 1 yellow, and you would have to be at the hatchery. So there are like specific resources that you will need to drop off at a specific location, and there will also be encounters that you have to encounter in order to complete those missions. And then lastly, once you have done everything for the day phase, you do move into the night phase, which is where all the bad things happen, let me tell you. So once all of the scouts have a turn to move and encounter things, you will move into a night phase, which you will always take out, I think, 3, and then additionally you could be pulling out more based off of different Grems or howlers that are on the board. So you would pull out 3 different tokens. So let's see what we get here. I pulled out 2 Bs and 1 A. So what this means is these are different hazards, and these will have to be placed into those specific spots on the board. So these are called the hazardous areas, and you will, when you pull these out of the bag, have to add them to the hazard areas. And if you do pull out more and more, the first one does have to be placed on to the symbol on the board, and then the next ones have to be placed touching any existing hazards in that hazard area. And eventually you will have, a ton of hazards, and if you ever have more hazards than you can fit into the hazard area, all hazards have to fit into this dark shadowed area on the board. If you ever have to place a hazard and it does not touch this shadowed area, that would mean that your board or the Denlands have been overridden by these hazards and you would immediately lose the game. And also, if you ever had to place one of these hazards and it would touch one of these scouts, unfortunately that would mean that the game would be lost as well. But those are not the only hazards in this bag. Additionally, there are going to be the Grems, like I mentioned, as well as moon tokens. So let me see if I can find some different ones in here. There will also additionally be, oh yes, there's some moons, which the moons are somewhat good because that means that nothing is going to happen, but also these will be for Nickit. So Nickit does have an ability where she can collect these. Nickit takes any moon tokens drawn for the Night Cup. She may spend them back to the cup as a resource of any color or as a shortcut token. So these are actually really useful if you do have Nickit in the game. And then also additionally, like I said, let's just take all of these out and see if I can find those specific ones. But additionally, there will be howlers that you have to add to the board, and you do have to defeat these howlers if you do not. That means on the next night phase, you will have to pull out more night tokens from the bag because it is 3 plus however many Grems are out on the board, I believe. But there are going to be some specific encounter tokens, which I believe there is one in this situation. So if you ever pull out one of the encounter tokens, this one here just says that you have to read encounter number 101, and then you would read that from the encounter book. But once that night phase was finished, you would then move on to another day phase. You would continue this, like I mentioned, until you would either be winning the game by completing 4 missions, or unfortunately losing the game by either the map being overridden by the hazards, or one of the scouts unfortunately being taken by the hazard and being touched by the hazard. That would be the end of the game. All right, friends, so that is going to be everything for today's video and the preview of Boundless Stride into the Denlands. Hopefully you guys got a good overview of how the game plays and if it is something that you think that you would enjoy. I will mention as well that I will be doing a live playthrough of Boundless Stride into the Denlands at some point during the campaign, and I will have a link in the description to the campaign if you guys want to go and check it out. But yes, sometime during the campaign, I will be doing a live stream of Boundless Stride into the Denlands. I will be playing it solo, and I am very excited to hang out and show you guys a little bit of how the game plays. So keep an eye out for that. It will be here on YouTube. But yes, that is everything for today's video. A huge thank you to Incredible Dream again for sponsoring today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed. Also, hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Comment down below if this is something that you are interested in, or if it is not, let me know. I'd love to have the conversation down there. And yeah, I love you guys so, so much. Remember, you are somebody's reason to smile, and I will see you in the next board game video. Bye, friends.